What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Wildcat Cave. I had planned on making this a football video, but after this past weekend, I have no interest in talking about football. So instead, I'm going to talk about our basketball team and our upcoming game against Gonzaga this Sunday, November 20th. In this one, I'm going to give you guys a quick summary and breakdown of each team. We'll talk about what will it take from the Cats to leave Spokane with a win. And finally, at the end, of course, I will give you guys my prediction. Now, first things first, I posted on my community tab that my 600th subscriber would get a shout out, and from the best I could tell, that person was at Brandyland. So thank you, Brandy, and everyone who subscribes. It means a ton to me, and if you aren't subscribed, pause the video now and go do it so we can keep growing this channel. Also, if you would like a shout out, go comment below what your prediction for this game is, and the winner. Whoever is closest with the correct winner will get a shout out in next week's video. Okay guys, so full disclosure here, I'm recording this on Tuesday morning before the Champions Classic, so keep in mind when you're watching this, I haven't gotten to see Kentucky play Michigan State, and I haven't gotten to see Gonzaga play Texas just yet. But speaking of Michigan State, that is who Gonzaga just played. They ended up beating the Spartans by 1, but it's hard to get a good read on Gonzaga based on that game because it's the one that they play every year on the aircraft carrier outdoors for Veterans Day. And with it being outside, with wind and everything else, all these outside elements, it's hard to get a good read on teams in that game sometimes. With that said, however, Gonzaga still only shot 22% from 3 in that game. If I was a fan of the Zags, that stat would concern me because even in their first game at home against North Florida, they only shot 5 for 13. This seems to be a team that doesn't shoot a ton from deep, and they don't really make a ton either. Another stat for Gonzaga that would concern me if I were them was their turnovers against Michigan State. They're averaging 16 turnovers in their first 2 games. Kentucky under Coach Cal always thrives when they're running up and down the court. And if Gonzaga is going to turn the ball over 16 times, Kentucky can capitalize and score easy points in transition. One thing Gonzaga may have going for them, however, is Drew Timme. He was in contention for National Player of the Year last season and was on everyone's preseason wooden watch coming into this one. So far, he has scored 22 points in each of his first 2 games. Timme is clearly the leader of Gonzaga. He leads them in every major category except for steals. However, in their first game against North Florida, somehow he only managed 2 rebounds in the whole game and played like 28 minutes. And now he's going to be going up against Kentucky and going head-to-head with the National Player of the Year who averaged 15 boards per game. Like I said, I'm recording this on Tuesday, and Gonzaga will play number 11 Texas Wednesday night at Texas. That game will probably tell us much more about the Zags than either of their first 2. Also, playing Michigan State and Texas before Kentucky should prepare the Gonzaga for this game better than Kentucky will be prepared, with Kentucky having only played 1 Power 5 team before going to Spokane. Also, one last thing for Zag fans, if you're one of the people saying this is a neutral site game, shut up. Yeah, I understand it's not the Kennel. Personally, I wish it was. I think college basketball is better when marquee teams play at each other's home. But let's not pretend this isn't a home game for Gonzaga. Rupp Arena is farther from UK's campus than the Spokane Center is from Gonzaga. Kentucky is traveling across the country, and Gonzaga is traveling across the street. But with that said, I'll move on to Kentucky. I think tonight's game will be a good litmus test for the Cats playing against Michigan State. That should give us an idea of how the Zags and the Cats will match up against a common opponent. I think Kentucky will have a lot of positives going into this game, first of which will be having Oscar Tshiebwe back on the court with a game under his belt. While I do think Timme is a really good player, I don't believe he's much match for Oscar. So far, Gonzaga has out-rebounded teams by about 9 per game, but they haven't played anyone as good as Oscar yet. I think Oscar will have about 15 to 18 rebounds, and he'll be able to keep Timme off the boards pretty effectively. Kentucky is also averaging about 10 steals a game, and like I mentioned before, Gonzaga's averaging 16 turnovers. One thing Gonzaga does not want to do in this game against Kentucky is make it a track meet. I believe Kentucky has the better guards and better shooters, which means if Gonzaga is turnover prone, the Cats may score a bunch of cheap points, which is something neither team can afford to give up in this one. In my last video, I mentioned how fast Case and Wallace is, and we know how disruptive Xavier can be on defense. And all of Gonzaga's players average about 2 turnovers a game. So I think Kentucky will be able to get out on fast breaks and score in transitions quite a bit. But in my opinion, Kentucky's biggest strength will come in the form of C.J. Frederick and Antonio Reeves. So far, at the time of me filming this, Gonzaga, as a team, has only made 9 3-pointers this season. 9. CJ and Antonio have combined to make that many per game so far. Having Oscar back in this game will also force Gonzaga to keep Timmy in the lane and not allow the defense to crowd the 3-point line or crowd the paint. That should open up the court and allow Frederick and Reeves to get a good amount of open looks. And Kentucky is a team that's making 51% of their threes. If Gonzaga wants to stay in this game, they're going to have to defend the 3-point line and make more than they have so far this year. As of right now, I haven't been able to find any betting odds or anything like that for this game. I would expect Gonzaga to be favored since they're the higher-ranked team and it's a home game for them. Obviously, both teams have tough games before they see each other Sunday. But just going on the assumption that they both win, I expect Gonzaga to be roughly a 3 to 5 point favorite simply for playing in Spokane. I think if they played in Lexington, Kentucky would be favored by about the same. Now, on paper, Kentucky should have the better team. They have better guards. They have the National Player of the Year. They turn the ball over less, and they shoot threes at a much better rate. But as we learned from the Kentucky football program this weekend, the better team on paper doesn't always win. This game will be a tough game for both teams, and anyone who says otherwise doesn't know what they're talking about. I won't be shocked no matter who wins this game. If you're a fan of this channel, you know I don't always pick the Cats to win, especially against good teams and especially on the road. But in this one, I'm taking the Cats to leave Spokane with a win, 77-70. I just think the difference is the 3-point shooting. I think that makes a huge difference in this game. Like I said, Kentucky shoots over 51% from deep. Gonzaga's averaging 30, and they shoot way less threes than Kentucky. As long as Reeves and Frederick both don't just fall apart, I think Kentucky gets the W here. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Gonzaga pulls this one out at home. But that is going to do it for this quick breakdown, guys. Let me know down in the comments what are your keys to the game for each team. Be sure to leave your predictions as well for a chance at a shout out next week. Also, like the video if you're excited for the series between these two teams. It should be exciting. I'm pumped up for this game, and this could be a preview of the national championship game later in the year. I will see you guys in the next video. Go Cats!